Hi again, everybody, and welcome to 15.5. And for this last one, we're going to talk about some of the improvements that really helped the country recover from the Great Depression, and really many of which are with us today. And so some of the details might have changed. Like you can see here, at least $250,000. That number was much lower during the Great Depression and when the New Deal first started. But the concepts and the protections, many of which are very much still with us today. The first one is the FDIC, or Federal Deposit Insurance Commission. And if you remember, one of the biggest problems faced by people during the Great Depression was that they didn't trust banks. They had worked their whole life and deposited their money in the banks, and the banks failed, and they lost their life savings. And that's bad enough if someone loses their life savings. What was even worse is that people stopped trusting banks. And because they didn't trust banks, they would not deposit their money in the bank. They'd keep it at home or bury it somewhere, or who knows what. And the reason why that's bad is because banks help drive the economy. They're supposed to safely store your money, and they also loan money out to help the economy grow. And if people don't trust the banks, they're not going to deposit their money in there. And that's why the FDIC came into existence, because if your bank goes out of business, you still get to keep your money because the government will insure it. Now, this was a few years ago; it's up to 250,000. But again, the numbers will change based on inflation and a lot of other things. But this is going to give people confidence in their financial institutions and encourage them to start, using banks again. The Securities and Exchange Commission, something that's very much still with us today, and it is supposed to regulate stock market to ensure stock information is accurate and credible. So companies that are traded on the stock market have to report 4 times a year on their earnings and various other things, and the SEC is supposed to make sure that those are accurate, and with accurate information, you can make better decisions. Part of the problem was, at least during the Great Depression, and still after that, certainly, was that people were and companies were not being honest about their financial situation. And if people are investing based on false information, then that could be a very bad thing. All right, National Labor Relations Board, the NLRB. And this, of course, was an agency to regulate relationship between businesses and their employees, and also settle disputes. So try to keep labor healthy, the relationship between labor and the employers healthy. Parity. This just means to achieve equality or fairness, where no one really has an advantage, and it's relation to competition. So it means that no one has a distinct advantage, and you try to create an even or a playing field with parity. So neither company or group or person or whatever goes into the economic competition of business world with any distinct advantage, other than perhaps, well, I worked harder, so I'm a better, businessman because I studied certain techniques, or I'm a better woodworker because I've been doing it for a longer time. No one has an advantage other than they made themselves. So the government is not conferring any advantage on anyone, and they try to make it an even playing field. And the idea is that an even playing field for business will promote competition, which is good for business, innovation, and the consumer. The Tennessee Valley Authority, still with us. Obviously, they built tons and tons of dams off of the Tennessee Valley area. And not only did the dams obviously provide work and electricity, but also provide steady flow of water, reduce the amount of mosquitoes. It was really transforming for that whole area, because, believe it or not, a lot of it was not electrified. A lot of those rural areas were, not hooked up to the power grid, and this was a huge step in sort of modernizing that particular area in the Tennessee Valley. And really, it's still with us today. Huge success. All right, that is it. Thank you so much.